Should I expose my ex-wife's affair to her parents and/or community? My M25 ex-wife, F25, and I are officially divorced as of October. We met as high school sweethearts and quickly told our parents of our plans to marry. We come from different backgrounds, me being Pakistani and her Turkish, but both living in the West. Unfortunately, at the time, we were told to finish our schooling. Parents thought it wouldn't last. And so we did. Both graduating in the same program and spending the better part of 6 years together, 4 of which we were engaged for. We were each other's first and practically grew up together. We were inseparable on campus, and our small city all knew us as that couple. We made mistakes along the way but repented, and the end goal was to always marry and make it halal. Upon graduating, I secured a well-paying tech job that allowed me to save up for marriage and move out to a place of our own. I worked hard and saved almost every penny that first year, and soon after, we got married in a modest ceremony in late 2021. Now, prior to marriage, Allah blessed me with everything I could ask for. A great home environment, a great friend circle, a great religious community, good health, a great job, height, etc. I was physically active, tall and fit, alhamdulillah. However, in the few months leading up to our marriage, I was struck ill with mysterious health issues. I had every test under the sun done, and doctors could not find anything. We got married regardless, but the issues progressed through our marriage. As the illness progressed, I lost tons of weight, muscle, and looked like a shell of myself. I had low energy, worked from home from the bed, and most days stayed home, although we still did plenty of activities together, and even mustered up the strength to go on dates outings at least twice a month. Most days, I could barely stomach one bland meal. A few months into the marriage, I could tell my ex-wife's mood was off. After speaking, she said she is no longer attracted to me. This really hurt, as I was chasing cure after cure and nothing worked, while still spending time with her. My wife could never get over how much she suffered in the start of our marriage. A period where couples should be happy and living their best life. To keep my wife happy in the period while I navigated my health issues, I granted her one wish which she expressed before marriage of traveling a ton with her. We went to the top honeymoon location of 2022, the top-rated island that year. We flew all over the world to exotic places doing all sorts of excursions. We traveled to 7 total countries all over the globe, all while I pushed myself through an obvious ailment. Despite all of this, she claims to have lost respect for me because I was not building towards anything or being ambitious. Meanwhile, some days I didn't want to be alive. I never failed to provide for us financially, even giving her the option to never have to work, which she eventually took up. Intimacy began to die as she refused it. She began to talk back, say rude things, or demonstrate attitude if I ever as a husband tried to ask something of her, like wearing looser clothing or coming home earlier from evenings out. I recall her saying, I should have married a village girl if I wanted someone to obey these things. She became a totally different person than the girl I married. She even threatened divorce 2 to 3 times in the first year of marriage alone. And I was in such a vulnerable position that I put up with a lot of this because I was wallowing in self-pity due to my health condition and failing marriage. What would I tell our families after waiting so long to get married? Eventually, I contacted my local sheikh about my issues, and he recommended ruqya. I traveled far and wide to find a pious, experienced, and reputable raqi, and stayed with him for 2 days. Turns out there was some sort of sihr done on me, and I needed to reconnect with Allah and seek his protection. It was all new stuff to me, but I studied our deen and eventually improved my situation drastically. But by now, my wife had emotionally clocked it out. While I was improving, I had another setback following a botched wisdom tooth extraction, which left me on a liquid diet for almost 2 months. Talk about a rough patch. I would not wish it on anyone. In this time, my ex-wife grew even more distant and tired of my health not improving. I asked Allah for a sign in those days on what to do with this marriage. She constantly made me feel like a burden, and it was weighing heavy on me. It was at this time I discovered texts on her phone. It felt like a bullet hit me. I pray Allah protects you from this. I'll spare you the details, but I was absolutely floored. I discovered that she had a past with a much older former co-worker, who is interestingly a board member of our local masjid. I discovered they had been on a trip together just 2 months before we got married. I discovered that they planned to get married, but at the last minute, she went with me instead. I discovered that they still had feelings and were just now rekindling and reminiscing, over a year into our marriage. I saw how she omitted me from her life entirely as she spoke to him, and they agreed to stay in touch secretly. I recorded the evidence, and I immediately confronted her, and she began crying and saying this was the worst mistake she ever made. She begged me not to tell her family, or her life would be over. She would just cry, and not give me any answers when I asked for details of her affair. She tried to ask for forgiveness and began to love-bomb me after this. She suddenly began being a good wife to me, treating me well, respecting me, initiating more often, and trying to please me in any way. I was torn between disgust, lust, hatred, mercy, betrayal, and a whole slew of emotions. Of course, her fake love didn't last long. She changed her phone password and began stonewalling me. To tell you the truth, our relationship ended the day I saw those messages. Shortly after Ramadan, she had the audacity to come and say to me she's divorcing me because she does not see me as a suitable father. I lack ambition, and she's not attracted to me. Bear in mind, by now I had been on a healing track, and once again, Allah blessed me with an upwards trajectory in risk and health. I felt abused enough in this relationship to finally take a stand. This time, I took her threat of divorce seriously, and dropped her off at her parents' home so she may consult them and to initiate separation. I gave her keys and mentioned she's welcome back when she's ready, and that I'm not kicking her out. Her poor father, a pious, humble, soft-hearted man, came to ask about what was going on, because she would not talk to him. I explained to him all of the issues, minus the affair, and he pleaded with me not to divorce her, and that these things are fixable, and offered to pay for all counseling or therapy we may need. Little did he know the real reason. Her mother and I had a great relationship, but that became strained because she blamed me for not loving her daughter enough, and that if I truly wanted to save this marriage, I would. She argued that all her daughter wanted was for me to give her a little hope. But I gave her a lot more in life than a little. I explained to her that if I was not doing a little, we would not be living the life we lived, of comfort and, dare I say, luxury. I was selfless for her. From expensive gifts like diamonds, the latest iPhone, gadgets, clothes, constant trips, I was generous materialistically and emotionally. No sheikh would grant her kula after hearing her, as I was not abusive, she admitted this to them. I did not smoke, drink, watch porn, do drugs. I never failed to financially provide or protect. I fulfilled my God-given duties. But after I explained my side, all sheikhs and counselors we spoke to recommended that I should be the one divorcing her actually, and so I did. Her Eid began, in which she completely violated it by flying off for a vacation without telling me or her father. She blocked me and we haven't spoken since. For all I know, she never stopped speaking with that other guy. Her password change and his weird energy towards me in the mosque would imply this. Since she left my life, I began going to the gym again, training martial arts, gaining back weight, and improved my health. I've also launched a profitable online business, and in general feel positive, alhamdulillah. The only two loose ends I have is addressing the guy who is on our mosque board, which I am in the process of, although it's mostly her fault for reciprocating, and answering the question this post was titled after. I no longer feel mercy for her. She wasted years of my life. Her parents, who I loved once, should know the truth. I've heard murmurs from the community that the divorce happened because I was boring and because of her in-laws mistreating her, which is a total lie. It's now become a matter of family honor and dignity, and Islam does not encourage us to turn the cheek when we are wronged. Her father cried to me during the Iddah for an attempt at reconciliation, despite her leaving the country, and I believe he deserves closure. So, should I reach out to her father and have a heart-to-heart with him on why I truly divorced his daughter despite him pleading with me not to divorce her? Should I go public with what the representative of our mosque board did? My niyah for any of this would be to clear my family and I's name in our smallish community, and to make a lesson out of my ex-wife and her lover by shaming them in the community. Eventually I will remarry, and it's not fair that I suffer in my search when I did all I could in this marriage. Allah is my witness. I know for a fact if the roles were reversed, I'd be dragged through the mud, exposed, ostracized, and cast away. Why the double standards? Thank you to anyone who's read this far. Although all the details may not have been necessary, writing this down alone has been therapeutic for me. It's hard getting support out here as a man sometimes.